Hi everybody. This is Getting Paid Faster, a practical guide for field service businesses like you all. I'm Ethan Wigglesworth, so I'm the business development team manager.
I'm Jack. I'm one of the account executives. It's yeah, lovely to have you all on the call. Thank you very much for joining.
Yes, and just before we start, guys, just don't post any questions in the chat. We've got some that have already been sent in, so we'll answer them at the end. So leading on to the first slide. So what do me and Jack and everyone else always hear in this kind of industry? It's like we're busy, but cash flow is always tight. We're always chasing invoices, but never seem to catch up. The admin is the problem. And just for a bit of background, me and Jack have been in this industry for years now, between us, and worked in different businesses, what supply job management software. So we've spoken to thousands of businesses who have the kind of same challenge. So if we broke down the average price per job, which is £150, and the average of like multiple businesses doing jobs a week, which is about 30. So and then the average of like invoicing being delayed from when a job's completed is about 3 days. So that leaves about 4.5 grand in unbilled invoices. So like small delays with admin and stuff like that, at such a large volume adds up quickly. So obviously, if you turn that into 60 jobs a week, do you know that? It's over 6 grand, nearly 10 grand, um, in unbilled invoices. So you can imagine the problem there.
And that leads us on to the million-dollar question: where is the money getting stuck? And obviously, it's lovely to be able to just invoice a client, but what information do you need to get back to the office which enables you to invoice that client? And nine times out of 10, it's that information that is getting taken on the initial inquiry and then filled out by the engineers on site. So if we can get those engineers filling in their job sheets on site as they're doing the work and sending that back to the office in live time, the office are then going to be able to invoice that on the same day. And that's the real problem that we can solve is that with a job management software, we're going to be able to take that initial inquiry, move that straight out to the engineer, get all the information from the engineer on site, like the job sheet and the information and the work that have been carried out. And then the office can use that information to invoice that client nine times out of 10 on the same day. And then you're going to be receiving payment quicker and faster because the sooner the customer has the invoice, the sooner you guys are getting paid and the businesses are getting paid.
Nice. And what should a good software do? So we've broke it down into two categories basically. So what it should remove is delays between field and office. There should be no delays. Like in a perfect world, a company would be able to just work in sync with each other from their engineers and their office staff. Manual data entry. No one likes doing admin work. Like, trust me, no one can say they do. Chasing job sheets before billing, like it shouldn't be a task for someone in the office to have to ring round their engineers and figure out what work's been done. Like they can't read the handwriting. Like there's information missing, and this is just creating like a bottleneck, as Jack just mentioned, of time between completing jobs and then sending invoices out. And what a good software should do as well is it should add proof of work on every job, so receipts, photos, making customers happy so they know what's been done. Invoice and payments on site. This speeds up that process massively. So if an engineer can go out to site, complete the work, it's happy, the customer's happy, they'll be able to take the payment and invoice there and then. That just removes the whole bottleneck of waiting for invoices to be done days later. And then live visibility. So anyone who runs a business should want to be able to see what's going on everywhere, all at one time. Where their engineers out on jobs, what the office staff are doing, what quotes have been sent, what invoices have been sent, when is the money coming in. And we found like that's one of the most important things. What is like a bolt on to obviously getting paid faster. And then Jack will go through this next slide with you as well.
Yeah, and if you just go back to that last slide as well, Ethan, there was a couple of extra
Oh,
points
sorry.
to add. No, it's okay. Add as well. With live visibility, what we can introduce as well is date and time stamping. So, when the engineers are taking photos on site and they're on site filling in the information that's required of them to carry out that job, the office are going to be able to relate that back to a customer at later dates. So, one of the scenarios that comes up nine times out of 10 on calls is we've sent the invoice to the customer, they're disputing it because something's happened since we've been to site, whether it was left damaged, whether it was left unkept. But luckily, with your engineers being able to take those photos and fill out that information with date and timestamps against it, you can always go back to them and say, well, look, Mr. Customer, we've got visibility here and we've got proof here that that photo was taken at X time. It was left in perfect condition. You can see here that it's been repaired. We would still like to, you will need to pay this invoice because it wasn't us and we've got proof of that. So, it's as well as live visibility, it's having that backlog of data, which enables you to sort of fight off disputes and ensure that you guys are getting paid, which is the reason for this, reason for everything.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught that. Sorry, I skipped ahead too quickly there.
That's fine.
Yeah, that was perfect. So, what changes when it works? So, obviously, you can see on the screen. So, less time on paperwork equals more time completing jobs. Do you know? I guess that's kind of obvious, but still, a lot of people don't really put the two things together. So, same day invoicing, which is then predictable cash flow. So, people who are running businesses, directors, service managers, operational managers, they want to be getting paid faster so they can predict when their money's then coming in and they can, they can plan ahead of their year, not even just monthly, but their year of like when they're busy, when's the most time they're going to be making the most money in the year and stuff like that. So they can, plan for like getting new customers, hiring staff, growing as a business, just making things better. Proof of work on every job, which equals fewer disputes and faster resolutions. I think I can say this for everybody in no matter what industry you're in, but the faster that a job can be completed and the happier your customer, the more satisfaction you get as a business as well. Not just about getting paid faster, but happy customers. And then no manual data entry, which equals accounts always up to date. So rather than chasing people to fill in paperwork and using one system to type information in and then writing up a job sheet and then putting a quote on somewhere else and sending an email, blah, blah, blah. Everything being done in one place just streamlines everything and just makes the day better and go faster and just allows people to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, there were some really good points there, Ethan. I think one of the things that stood out was, managing the customer's expectations. And you've got to think with job management software, the customer's going to be kept in the loop at every single stage. There's going to be communication from when that initial inquiry turns into a job, when that engineer leaves to go to site, when the job's been completed, they'll be getting communication the job's been completed, and then also when they're invoiced and payments been received as well. So, within those key steps of the job management process, you're always going to be updating that customer, which, if they're happy with the service that you're providing, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back because they just know how smooth and efficient it is to work with you guys. And that's, the end goal for everybody is to maintain customer relationships and keep the customer happy.
Yeah, smashing, smashing. And Jack is going to actually do a bit of a deep dive here and show you what a system like this would do for businesses like you guys and just kind of where it all fits in just to getting paid faster. Like it's an educational piece. So yeah, Jack, I'll let you take the floor there.
Cool. So I'll start sharing my screen. All being well, you should be able to see that.
Yeah, I can see it. Hopefully everyone else
Brilliant.
can.
Yeah, so what we're looking at now is the dashboard. The dashboard is where you're going to go to sort of get a high-level overview of the system and what's going on within the business. But as I say, we'll just move quickly onto the schedule because what we're focused on is getting that job booked in and getting paid faster. So first things first, you're going to have a diary view of everything that's going on in the business today, this week, this month, depending on how you filter down the schedule to your advantage to see, what you're going to be, where you're going to be scheduling, who you're going to be scheduling to. We've got a list of our engineers down the side. And then we've also got the ability to filter down by team member and team member categories. So if you have installation technicians or apprentices or reactive technicians, you can have them in categories and you can filter down by specific categories. And then, it gives you the ability to quickly schedule to that selected group. In order to get the job into the diary, we simply just double tap on that engineer and go ahead and save that job in for a specific date and time. First things first, we're going to be required to fill out some basic job information, things like job names, categories, the client that we're going to do work for. We can select the service address that the job is going to take place. Any related information like purchase order numbers, contractual agreements, or ongoing projects within that client as well. We've got the ability to add job notes. It can be instructions for the engineer, or it could be something as simple as door code to enter the building, anything that you need to communicate with that engineer on site. We now need to select a workflow form. So these are going to be your job sheets and service sheets, any worksheets that your engineer needs to be filling out on site on that job. So if I select that job sheet and make it mandatory, he's not going to be able to do this job without completing that job sheet. So your engineers are getting all the mandatory information, or so your office are getting all the mandatory information from their engineers when they're on site, which inevitably ends to a more accurate invoice and the customer getting that invoice as soon as possible and you guys getting paid.
Oh, so does that mean engineers can go to site and make sure the paperwork's done before they finish the job?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's very helpful.
If I go ahead and save and finish this job, if you just excuse me a second whilst I bring up the mobile app, and then we can see exactly what we've just sent to our engineers. So log into the application, do my sync for the day.
What does that mean, Jack? What's the sync for the day?
Sync for the day is essentially logging onto the system and ensuring that all of our jobs have been sunk to the system. And that just means if we lose signal or lose data, mobile data that is, we're going to be able to carry out the work and services as if we had mobile data. And it just ensures that no data is lost if we now go offline.
Ah, so for any engineers and for anybody listening who goes to like sites where there's just no data whatsoever, they can just work offline and still complete everything without having to run back to the van and try, hold up the phone in the air and try and find internet.
Exactly. So if I go onto my application now, I'm looking at my dashboard, and the area we're going to focus on is our scheduled jobs. So we can see that the call out that we just booked in together is there with a highlight against it, and I just need to start that job. First things first, I'm going to start my job timer to ensure that everybody knows that I've arrived on site, and the customer's going to get feedback on how long I've been on the site and how long it's taken me to do this job. I can then view my job notes, ensure that nothing's been missed and I know what I'm going to be doing on this job. And then I've also got my workflow forms. So this is now the job and service sheet that I need to fill in order to send back to the office again, so you know what I've completed and what they're going to be doing on site. So choose the asset that I'm doing the service on. What was just reported? We'll just put leaking to keep things simple. Category of work to be carried out. This particular job was a reactive call out. Was there any parts and materials used? Yes, I actually used part A on this particular visit. Is there any further actions required? No, not on this particular visit. Okay, let's just take a photo. Use that photo because we're happy with it. Post completion. Save. Next. Finish. Signature from the engineer. Signature from the customer to say that they're happy that everything's been done. So that'll come in handy later if the customer decides to dispute. And then you can complete sync now. Add a status to the job as completed. Finish that job. And all that information is now going to be sent directly back to the office in a matter of seconds. And then as an office member of the team, I can now go in and invoice that job immediately. So I can go in, I can see this job's in pending completion, so it's awaiting an invoice. And then I can simply go ahead, complete my job and invoice, ensure that all the mandatory fields and everything has been selected that's relevant for this particular job, my travel time and my time spent on job, as well as the part that was used as pulled through. I can go ahead, save that job. And as simple as that, the customer's been invoiced.
And what was that? Maybe 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes or something like that. Well, maybe
Yeah,
less just from doing the quoting part. So like the amount of time saved there from getting an invoice out because it was all done on the mobile app, like that is going to solve so many problems for people using job management software. I really appreciate you showing us that, Jack. It still blows my mind how fast you can still do stuff like that on these types of systems. Um, yeah, brilliant, brilliant. We have actually some questions that we sent in, so might as well go through them if you don't mind, Jack. If you unless you've got anything else to share. Or...
No, that was everything from me. Yeah, we'll dive into the questions. I think
Okay,
some
amazing.
of which might
So
have been answered.
yeah. Well, it's funny enough you say that. So I'll give the first one to you, Jack, since you're the expert in the system. So, like, can customers pay on site and still receive a VAT invoice?
They can indeed. I didn't show it on this call because you've got to leave some stuff up to a surprise. But yeah, when the engineers are on site, there is an ability to invoice as an engineer on the mobile app once the job's been completed, and they can also take payment on site as well through our Stripe integration. So yeah, depending on how you want to operate, if you just want them to send a VAT invoice, they can do. Alternatively, they can just take payment whilst they're on site as well.
And again, it's probably just circling back to the amount of time saved, isn't it? Rather than having to send it back to people. Okay, so what happens if an engineer does not have signal on site? Well, Jack's just clearly answered that when I asked him the question about syncing. So the mobile app allows you to go offline. So you're going out to a rural area where you have no signal. You're still going to be able to do all your work, not worry about trying to, like load up forms and whatnot, and not be able to send the communication and live feedback back to the office. Still going to work completely fine. This was a big bottleneck that me and Jack have both found as well with people not getting paid uh, faster. It's just because engineers are spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes trying to find signal in certain areas. So I know that's a big problem. Can engineers use it without much training, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you could see from the short, demonstration that you saw there, that that's really intuitive, and so is the back office. And if you do feel like for any reason that you might find it hard to use, you've got unlimited support and training from our team. So yeah, we're going to be able to help you get up to speed with it as soon as possible. But like I said, you shouldn't need it because a lot of the worksheets and workflows are really easy to complete.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I could tell by the looking of it. Like, I don't know how to do what you did in terms of the demonstration, but it just looks really simple to use, which
Mm.
is like we both know again, everyone always says it's like engineers don't want to be using some complex system or writing up paper like non-stop. It just slows down the day. I wouldn't want to anyways. But so last question is I've got, do customers actually pay faster when you invoice on the same day? So this is a really, really good question, this. So we actually did a deep dive into the analytics. So it turns out if a customer is sent an invoice on the same day that the work has been completed, there's a 40% chance of the invoice being paid that same day. Now, to some people, 40% is like, oh, well, it should be 100%, but 40% is a big difference when you've got like what did we look on the first slide? £4,500 to maybe 10 grand, depends how busy a company is and how many jobs they do. That's still a big chunk of invoices to be paid. And I hope it puts it all into perspective of like if you can get everything in order and get paid faster, you're going to grow as a business. You're going to increase your service to your clients. For new clients, you might be able to go out and get tenders from like competitors and bigger corporations. Obviously, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is the main goal, and we just kind of wanted to educate you on like the reason people don't get paid as quick as they hope. And I just want you all to know as well, it's like you don't have to think, well, this is just how it has to be because we've been doing it for like 10 years. It's like technology is always changing. You don't need to be scared of it. It just helps in all the right ways. And yeah, I know people don't really like change, but I mean, if you can make things better for your own office team, your engineers, yourself, but then your customers, that it's a win-win. And I guess
Mm.
that's the point of any job, to be honest, is just to kind of get job satisfaction and be happy and not be as stressed. But yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning into this. Like, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool
thank
to be
you.
able to do it. Obviously, like we hope to be able to do more on different topics and stuff. So Yeah, if we get any more questions and we do another one in the future, we'll be able to go through all that. But yeah, Jack, anything for you to add, mate?
No, I think you covered everything there. So yeah, thank you very much. And like I say, really appreciate you all joining. It was yeah, a pleasure to virtually meet you all, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.
Yeah, see you later, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.